This is City SC Posse. STL Soccer first, always. An NFNP pod production.
All right, let's do it. Game day. Game day again tonight against Dallas. So for this episode, it's already our 11th episode of City SC Posse, but we'll combine the episodes again, and we'll do the review or the recap of last week's draw against New York City FC, and then we'll preview the game tonight on the road again against Dallas.
Yeah, what a draw to get to. We needed that point. It felt really lucky to come away with it, obviously, with when we were able to tie it up. But on to the next game, let's go get some more points. But
sometimes
it's kind of a rough game.
Yeah, it was a rough game. Sometimes draws feel like wins, and we've talked about it on the pod before. I don't like draws when they're forced a little bit, when both teams are playing passive, or like we did not play well in this game, and it came down to the last minute, and it's the latest City SC goal to date. So the 90 plus 6. So it was the latest goal in the history of the club. So, of course, you score that goal and you come away with a tie in a game that you did not deserve any points on the road, and it feels like a win.
It feels great.
It
feels so good.
Yeah. We'll take it. It's still frustrating, from a loyal fan perspective, because the team just doesn't look good. It honestly doesn't look like we're improving, from a coaching perspective, player ratings, player decisions, positions. None of it was really great. The only thing that was good were the two subs that came in at the end that combined for the goal. That's the only thing you can really give DeMay credit for.
Yeah, but you got to give him credit for it. Like, we finally made a couple moves that were a little bit more timely, if I remember correctly, and they paid off. So let's be happy.
The player choices paid off.
I'm positive
definitely.
today. I'm feeling really good.
Feeling good about tonight?
Love it. Just feeling good coming away with the draw. That goal, man. That goal felt so good tying it up. Didn't it?
It did.
We lost that game. We lost.
Yeah.
We snuck out that draw.
Well, anytime you score 90 plus 6, to tie or win or whatever, like, that's huge. Even last night, Friday night, City 2 was down 2-1 and scored in the 90 plus 3 minutes to tie it up, and then ended up winning the game in penalty kicks. City, the MLS 2 does penalty kicks to decide draws. So, fun to see for the fans that were at the game. And, we'll talk about this a little bit, but, for City 2 last night, they had Ostruck,
some big
Leuven,
players.
Fall. So Nielsen, no, not Nielsen. He's gone. Who am I thinking of? Hebert.
Yes.
Yeah. So, some players getting some playing time for C2, but of course that means that they're not going to be eligible tonight. They didn't travel with the team. So we know, obviously, Leuven, Ostruck, not getting any minutes with the first team tonight, but good for them to squeak one out there. Good for those players to get some playing time and hopefully work on their fitness. And I don't know. You look at the squad that played last week against New York City FC, and the overall lineup. It just, I don't know, not great. Cordova, he gets his first start, which in theory was like, great. You got to give this guy some more minutes, see what he can do. He looked completely lost, and he was playing more out wide, which I don't think is his natural position. He should be probably a more of a, certainly up top in the center. And he looked lost. So he did absolutely nothing. And and we'll get into the player ratings here in just a minute, absolutely horrendous. So what do you do with him tonight now? Like, do you give him another chance? Do you put him in the number 9 spot? Or do you have him on the bench and maybe you put him in again the second half, depending on how the game's playing out? I don't know. I don't know what you do with this guy. And is he already worn out his welcome in St. Louis? He's on a short-term loan.
I was going to
so
say, he's only got
him.
another couple months, I think, going on his contract. So
if he doesn't prove himself,
you got to figure out what you got in him, right? Like, I feel like you're playing him again. To your point, I had a joke lined up about, like, his picture on the milk carton, because I didn't hear his name the whole game. I don't know where he was.
Right. He was missing. He was missing from the field, right? Missing from the action. Yeah.
But to your point, I don't know if that is his position out wide.
No,
I think he needs to be more in the middle. I'd like to see him given a chance more in the middle there. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it'd be Betcher.
Is Betcher playing this?
No.
This go around.
I don't think so.
He could be on the bench for this game, I think. So maybe you're sliding him in the middle this game in terms of Cordova, and get to see an opportunity and what he can deliver.
Of course,
you need it also, and then you can make your decision.
Sure. You also have Toy Shirt. Like if he's ready to go, he's fit, he's healthy again. Looked.
I want him in there.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked threatening. He hasn't scored yet, but he's been, when the times that he's played, mainly coming in as subs, he's looked like the guy that is going to score or could score. And then of course, he was having a great game a couple of weeks ago. And ended up coming out at halftime, or for injury concerns or whatever. Yeah,
55th minute or something like that. Yeah.
Now, I mean, the other thing is of course McSorley comes in, scores this big goal. Has he started to earn more minutes? So you said, like, earlier, you said the right players at the right time. Well, they didn't put McSorley in until the 81st minute. So Betcher stayed in until the 81st minute. So it really wasn't.
That was the right time, though.
Right? I mean, when you score, it all looks good for the coach. Yeah. But, should he be earning more minutes, especially as a top goal scorer for City 2 last year, maybe you want to see what you got with him. You said, you got to see what you got with Cordova. Maybe we got to see what we have with McSorley and giving him a little bit more playing time.
Yeah, I still think that McSorley's like a perfect sub in. Bring him in later in the game. Let him use the freaking energy that he's got in those legs to do what he does and attack and just, he's freaking all over the place, right? Like in terms of
and
movement.
I don't disagree with that.
I love that at the end of the game. Like, I think he's a great end of the game sub. I just don't know, like, we don't have somebody I feel really good starting the game either, which is the problem, right? Like, in a perfect world, I think
that's more or less what I was going to say, like in a perfect scenario right now, when you have a true number 9, that's going to play the game and hopefully scoring some goals. McSorley is a great late game sub. But when you don't have anybody that can fill that spot at the moment, you just gotta throw it to McSorley and say, all right, go out there, son. We're gonna give you 90 minutes, in back-to-back games, or 75 minutes, whatever it is. String a couple of games together and see if he can score 2 or 3 goals.
Yes, he's looked pretty good, honestly, coming off the bench over the last 3 games, I think.
Sure.
He brought all of the energy. I'm thinking of when Joyner came in, it was him, Joyner, and can't remember who else was brought in.
McNaughton, maybe. And of course it was McNaughton and McSorley that hooked up.
It felt like, they had all of the chemistry going in, when they were subbed in, and they brought all of the energy to the game. They look like the best players on the field, at least from a City standpoint, when they come in.
Sure.
So you almost, yes, part of you wants to ride with that.
Well, let's look at some of the stats before we get to the player ratings. Again, kind of like we said, they're not great for City. It's like, again, this was a game where we stole a point, especially on the road. And first off, we also need to talk about how terrible the pitch was.
Berkey is bad. The pitch,
the pitch, the pitch, the baseball diamond putting down the sod. People were tripping all over the place. It's a smaller field. And I know it's just temporary. Obviously, they're building a soccer-specific stadium, but I'm like, it's not a great look at the moment for sure. And I'm glad that we don't have to play in that every time we have a home game, right? Could you imagine if they were playing at Busch Stadium until they finished?
Yeah.
They're like, no.
And it's what they used to do, early on in the MLS, right? They were all
Sure.
over baseball stadiums, so it kind of brought you back to those times. But
Yeah, baseball
not
stadiums,
ideal.
football.
Not
Yeah.
ideal. I felt like, Little League out there when you were just up at your school field and half of it's the baseball field, right?
Well, yeah, you were playing on
Didn't feel
dirt
great.
when you were kids. They didn't lay
You
down
were,
new, so you were
like-
just playing on dirt, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that led to something, and again a smaller field. Although DeMay was like, we practice on a smaller field, we're used to it, but it didn't feel that way because our possession was terrible. 38% was our possession, and this year anyway, our possession's been much better. So this is I think the two games that stand out, this one and then San Diego, where we had a really, really bad possession. So 38% possession, not great. Shots, again, we only had 2 shots on target. So one of which was clearly a goal. So not great. So 2 shots on target of 8 attempted shots versus their 10 attempted shots and 5 on target. So their conversion rate was better, at least as far as shots on target. Goals was, was not as good. And their possession was better. They had 62% possession to our 38, which means that they had more passes. They had better pass accuracy. They had less fouls. They had 6 fouls to our 9. We had more yellow cards, 3 to their 1. Offsides was pretty negligible in this game. And then we had 4 corners to their 2. So I think you said that you did bet the under on the corners. And it was way under in this game, so you cleaned up on that one.
Yeah, it was we were talking about that bet if we wanted to take it over, and then we talked about how Pompeo was out. I was like, well, wait a minute, that might be my deciding factor. And as I was putting it in, I leaned heavily on it, and I thought, we're not gonna be putting up any quarters, and it paid off. So
that was a good thought process. Good win for you. All right, so let's look at the player ratings. I just pulled these up, and again, not great. So Betcher up top, 4.9, pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Cordova, right wing forward, I guess is what you put him at.
Yep,
4.2.
Yep.
Hartle, not one of his better games, 6.4. Santos, yeah. Santos on the left, 5.2. Edelman, center mid, 5.2. Durkin, 6.0. Wallum, 4.6.
1.
Yeah,
6.
so not the worst on the team. Cordova, the worst on the team. But 4.6, again, just terrible. And he is consistently. So that's the thing. Cordova, this is his first start. You're trying something new. Okay, it didn't work out. You shift this game. But Wallum, they just keep playing him in the same spot, expecting different results. And it's not happening. And again, we've talked about this. He just kills the attack. He can't draw. And of course, now you don't have Pompeo, so you don't have that option anymore. So you're going to have to get creative, but you got to do something here. I think we talked about it last week, whether it's Totland, whether it's Sangbin,
Joyner getting more minutes.
Joyner,
although I don't know what his status is after being moved up to
right
U21.
So
U21, I think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
not great. And then our defense, which I thought our defense played pretty well. Obviously the one goal right after halftime, was not ideal. Pulvera 7.0, Baumgartel 6.7, and then Orozco 7.2. So, not bad. Not bad.
Terrible. No.
Berkey 7.8. And it certainly could have been higher. He gives up the goal. Maybe there could have been an opportunity to save that somewhere along the lines. But he had some huge saves.
A lot of big saves.
Especially at the end of the game, when we're pressing, trying to get something to happen, and they had a breakaway and, a couple of other shots on goal, and he keeps us in the game, and then we come down, we score, tie it up. So you really got to give Berkey a lot of credit for not giving up, willing his team. You get a couple of big plays like that, and then the team starts to get a little bit more energy, kind of like hockey. Somebody goes in with a big check, or how many times do you see it? A goalie makes a crazy save on one end, and then right down the ice, Blues score, tie game, something like that, right? But our offense could have been dead the whole game, but Binnington makes this out of this world save, and then all of a sudden we come down and score, right? So something kind of like that.
Yeah, they had a couple chances that felt like they should have put the game away, and Berkey comes up big, good positioning, doing what he does, right? Like he keeps us in so many games. I think the announcers even had mentioned of it, just Berkey doing what he does, making big plays. So
yeah,
you can never, discount what he does for us.
Yep. Now, as far as coaching goes, tactics, DeMay gets a 5.6. Starters and subs 5.7. Timing on his subs 5.8. Not great. And then choices.
Are we sure that wasn't in the 70th minute that we made a couple subs?
Yeah, yeah, right here.
I felt like it was the 70th, but
no, definitely not. Well, I mean, we made some. It says McNaughton came on at 71. Perez didn't come on, did he? Or maybe he did. He did come on, right? 65. So I don't know. Choices though 7.5. So of course, 2 subs come on, they hook up for a goal, but that ends up being the the difference maker between a loss and a tie. So again, we'll take it.
In tie too with what we have coming up here in terms of
well, sure.
games,
well, I mean, we've talked about that. A lot of road games. We've had one of the toughest strengths of schedules in the league. I think the toughest. At least that's what I'm reading online. I haven't necessarily fact checked that, but and still a tough stretch of it the next couple of weeks. So it didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't move in the standings at all. We're still sitting at 13th place. Austin FC, they're currently losing. They're playing the Galaxy, so I got live standings here. So if they lose and we get a draw or a win tonight, we'll have the opportunity to jump them. We could jump Houston. Put us right at around 9th, 10th, 11th place with a win tonight. So you have an opportunity here. It's not like we're completely out of it. We didn't set ourselves up great. We're still -3 in goal differential, 5 points versus LAFC's 16 at the top of the table. But it's still crammed between that 8th and 9th spots. Those last playoff spots, all the way down to where we are and Sporting KC are. So you string a couple of wins together, a draw, a win, a draw, something like that, and you could be right back in playoff contention.
What's the the Klaus goal differential? That's my question.
Yeah, I know. I didn't look that up, but I did he
Let's
look
not-
it up?
let's
Are you in
not
front of
look
your
it up.
laptop? See if you can look it up right now. See if he's the goal scorer on the Galaxy game right now. That's happening during the day. But before we preview this Dallas game, we're at Dallas tonight on the road. Then we're at Seattle. So Dallas are currently in 6th place and Seattle in 5th place. So again, two tough games. We're home against San Jose, which we've done really well against San Jose so far historically, but they're sitting in 3rd place in the division. So yes, you're at home, but you're playing a tough opponent. And then we got to go right back on the road again to play Austin and Colorado. So right now they're both ahead of you in the standings. So it's not great. And then you come home and you got to play LAFC again. So you're not looking like you really got an opportunity until middle of May. Then we're at DC, we're home against Austin, and then we're home against Kansas City. Those are all winnable games. But we got a while to go here. So this is a stretch where we got to string some points together. You got to steal a win on the road somewhere. We already stole the draw last week, so we'll have to see what we can do.
News update: it was not Klaus that scored here, so he still has 5 goals, and I think that puts us what 2 behind. One no, because
we have 5 goals on the season.
Yeah.
So tied
We're
with
back to
Klaus.
even, baby. Woo!
Yeah, back to even. 5 goals on the season for our team, 5 goals for Klaus. We've given up 8 goals, so we've got that -3 differential, which is not ideal. So
yeah, so we're coming up on a game. We're playing Dallas.
Yep, Dallas at Dallas.
And from what I saw, they've had the exact opposite schedule set up than what we've had. They've had front loaded, like they're all home games and have played 2 away games.
Yeah.
I feel like
we're
in a completely different position right now with.
And you can flip the script, towards the end of the season, like that can happen. And all of a sudden you get on a hot streak, it gives you more time for you to develop your, from a city standpoint, you develop your team chemistry, for DeMay to figure things out. And then maybe that happens on the second half of the season. And, you've got a lighter schedule, more home games, and you can turn that into some points. I guess we'll see. For tonight's game, the early percentages. So 46% for Dallas to win, 25% to draw, 29% for St. Louis to win. So this might be a game when we start looking at bets, and I don't know if you're ready to do that yet. This might be a game where I bet on the St. Louis win or draw.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame you. What's that paying out? Do you know?
I don't. I haven't looked it up yet.
The double chance? Double chance would be minus 135 payout.
All right.
Yeah.
Not as ideal as I was hoping for. Not as big of a payout.
Yeah. I don't think that's what I am going to go with. I keep winning on my Asian handicap
bets. I know, right.
Yeah. So why would I get away from it? St. Louis is plus 0.5 at minus 125, probably not the direction I would go. I think we're gonna end up with a draw in this game. I think it's gonna be another 1-1 kind of game with the possibility of maybe sneaking in a win. I'm gonna aim for the draw, so I'm thinking maybe playing the SC 0 on the Asian handicap. I might just play the draw at plus 265. Kind of feels really good on that one. Trying to look at total corner kicks. Feels like it could be another under.
Yeah, it definitely could. All right, let me run through. You might change your mind after you hear the stats and
let's do it.
So let's run through some of that. So first, a couple of obvious takeaways. Game Saturday night. It's tonight. We're recording this Saturday afternoon. 4/11. The game is at 7:30 Central Time. So last week we were on Eastern Time, so we're back on Central. So a 7:30 start time that I like a little bit better.
A little bit more. Yep.
Yes. So obviously we're coming off the draw, but Dallas for the year thus far are 3-1-2 with 11 points. They sit in 6th place in the Western Conference, and they defeated DC United last week 4-0. And they're unbeaten in their last 3 matches.
Yep.
Now this is what's key. So their main striker, Patar Musa, leads Dallas with 7 goals. Which is tied for the MLS lead at the moment. So that's somebody you got to watch out for. And then one of their midfielders, Joaquin Valente, leads the team with 3 assists. So between those two guys, they're also unbeaten at home with a 2-0-2 record. So, they
Yeah.
haven't lost. Maybe they're due. Maybe they're due to lose one at home. Maybe this is where we sneak one in. But, that's kind of where maybe a draw tonight. You hope for a
Yep.
draw, although I never hope for a draw.
I, try to take a quick look ahead of time what they, stats kind of look like. They do a lot of scoring at home, but they also give up some goals at home.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
I've
maybe
got.
a total goals play could be
There you go.
in play today, right?
Right.
I
There you
think
go.
it's, let's see what that total goals. Total goals. Both teams to score, not what I'm looking for. Total goals. There it is at the top. 2.5 is the over under. Over is at plus 120. Kind of feels tempting.
Over at plus 120. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tempting because that could be a 2-1 score. 2-1, 2-2. And you're winning that bet. So
Now the under is at minus 155. So it does feel like they're projecting a 2-0 win or a 1-0 win.
a 1-1 draw.
Or 1-1 draw, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Which is right up silly City's alley, right? That kind of tends to be most of the time where
we've been playing.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
I got the season stats here too. So this is I think pretty interesting because on paper it looks pretty even. So you got one team, Dallas, that has scored a bunch of goals and is, firmly in a good playoff position on the table, good mid-table team. And then you got City, who's not. And yet when I look at these season stats, they're not so bad. So possession on the season, we're at 48.5% possession versus their 45. So between the two teams, we tend to have the ball a little bit more, and that's with those two games, San Diego and last week, where we were in the 30s. So, yes. Shots is almost exactly even, 13.8 shots per game for them versus 13.7 for us on average for the season. So right on target there. Shots on goal, again, pretty much the same, 5.5 for them, 5.3 for us. Block shots, they got a little bit of an edge, 4.3 for them, 3.7 for us. Total passes, we're leading at 502 to their 426. Pass accuracy, we're leading 85.7 to their 80. So with possession being pretty similar, our pass accuracy is better, so that's interesting. Corners, we're at 5.8 per game versus their 4.3. So you give us the edge, but right. Now,
maybe I avoid that.
Yeah, so that puts you right at 10 corners a game, right, on average, give or take. But I don't know. Total crosses, we're leading 11.3 to their 9. Offsides is the same to aerial duels 1. Now they got a pretty big lead here, 94 to our 72. So you got to watch out for them in the air, right? Those crosses, in the box. Yep. Now, expected goals, they're much heavier, 11.5 to our 8.8. So we have 8.8 expected goals, and we've only scored 5, right?
Yep.
They have 11.5 and projected goals, and they have scored 14. So they're overperforming. Yeah, and we are underperforming. Goalkeeper saves, we're at 3.2 to their 2.7. Clearances, they have 7 to our 5.7. Fouls, they have more fouls and more yellow cards. So maybe this is what you try and bait them into some fouls, some yellow card trouble early, and then you can pressure them, right? Maybe that's something. Now, there's also been a couple of games against Dallas in the past that I remember where they've picked up some red cards. I think they've picked up, in the first 3 seasons as a team playing Dallas, I think they have at least 2 red cards, one of which was the goalie in like the first minute of the game,
That's awesome. Let's get it. Let's do it. Let's antagonize, right? Like
yes. Maybe there's something there, and we can play a man up. We haven't seen any red cards at all yet this season for us or our opponents. So maybe this is the game. Hopefully not for us.
Yep. Hey, I'll look for that bet. See if we can make that somewhere.
Well, I'm telling you, the
That'd be kind of
history,
fun.
and this is just from memory, but the history is that Dallas, when they're playing us, they've picked up a couple red cards. So the
Really?
odds of that are certainly probably higher than normal.
Yep. I wonder
Yep.
if do we just have somebody under their skin? Like, do they hate one of our players? What's going on?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think at this point it's just happenstance, but you don't know. And the referee for tonight, I don't know his name or anything, but he's the infamous St. Louis City referee. If you remember the game where we had scored a goal and it went to review, and he came back and he said, upon further
one?
review,
Which time?
there was no foul on the goal, and so then the crowd erupted because they thought we won the challenge. But then he said, however,
Yeah, I do
leading
remember
up
this,
to the play, yeah, and it was this big,
Yeah.
big thing. So it's the same.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
thing he's not, here. Like, I hope it's not a
Well,
home game.
it's in Dallas, but yeah, it's definitely the
it'd be
same
taunting.
official. So that's
Yeah.
not necessarily a good look.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare
Yeah.
yourself. Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's all I've got as far as stats go. I'll probably put some money down, although I don't know what I'll go for just yet, because I like to go for those bets that have a little bit of a payout.
Yeah, you don't want to go too low at minus 165. That's not a bet you really want to make. That's not feeling great about it.
Right. Yeah.
Now I did the dollars that I'm throwing in, right? Like, who cares?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
lose
$5,
whatever.
Right. Now I did win. I won last week. I won one and lost one, but I ended up making money on the night. So, so I got some free money to play with tonight.
Yeah, I hit both of mine between the handicap and the under on corners. So I think I'm gonna go back to the handicap and put it, in favor, maybe plus 0.25 on City, and then might take a look at a goal scorer once the starting lineup comes in. So.
Yeah, gotta wait for that. If Toy Shirt gets in there, maybe
I might feel good about that
Toy
bet,
Shirt.
right?
So
Yep.
Let's see what the lineup is. I'll get the episode posted. Maybe we'll come back early next week and do a recap episode. Just a short one. I guess we'll see. We'll see where we're at. I'll probably write up a blog post. I've been writing that up kind of towards the end of the game, especially when I'm frustrated. So I might get that blasted out tomorrow. If you want the early reaction from myself, our listeners can check that out. We're trending up on our listeners, so that's still good, as is NFNP Pod. Just posted the NFNP Pod episode this morning, so we were actually a little bit behind schedule. So we'll have a couple of podcasts coming out on the same day here on NFNP Pod Productions.
Love the topic on that one. Where are those scientists? What's happening with these deaths? It just feels like something's going on.
If you haven't had the chance to listen yet, it's a little crazy, and nobody's really asking these questions. Like, where are these scientists? So I
think people are starting to, though, right? Like, these questions are building.
There was another one from the time that we recorded the episode to the time that we released it. A 9th scientist, just dead with no cause of death. Suspicious. So the fact that happened in between the recording and the episode launch. Something is amiss. And this guy worked for the nuclear space launch, right? So he's these guys, these are smart people doing crazy stuff, and dead or missing. So I don't know. If you're interested in that, go check out NFNP Pod this week. We also talked a little bit of Blues hockey and how the Blues are really getting screwed, and how the NHL needs to move to a 3-point system. Even soccer's like this a little bit, although they don't have the overtime, right? So with the NHL, they have the overtime. And so what I really don't like about it is if you win a game in the NHL, you only get 2 points. But if you tie and you go into overtime, somebody is getting 2 points and somebody is getting 1. So especially as you're heading down the stretch and you're trying to play catch up, much like the Blues were, and you can't do it because some games they're awarding 3 points.
Yeah, so you're saying, hey, the outright win should be 3, overtime win 2, bringing in overtime 1.
Overtime loss. Overtime loss would be 1.
Yeah. Overtime loss would be 1. That does kind of feel like, it makes sense and certainly gives the Blues an opportunity to play
well, because
catch
they
up
actually,
as we like to do apparently in the second half of the year.
Well, we actually have a decent amount of regulation wins compared to some of the teams that are ahead of us in the standings.
Yeah.
They have more overtime wins and stuff like that. So doing this would separate clearly the really good teams, the Avalanche and Dallas, right? They, they would be cruising and in a really comfortable position. Those mediocre teams, though, and not to mention at the end of the season, you're in a position like the Blues. Now you're going all out for 3 points, right?
Yeah.
So that, to me, that makes it more exciting because an overtime win isn't, you need 3 points. And so you could see some really craziness at the end of the game. Let's say it's tied 2-2 and there's 2 minutes to go. We're really pushing because we want that 3rd point, so.
Yep. It could
Could
be
be
interesting,
Yep.
write
Could
up
be
a
interesting,
nice little letter to the commission, see what happens.
For sure. Yes. Well, if you wanna hear more about that and our take on that, you can go check out NFNP Pod. We'll come back at you next week after the game. Look for the blog post for the instant reaction. And until next time, hopefully we're bringing home a City win.
Leave it. Ciao.
You gotta calm down, man.